because people want to build stock market trading platforms. And where are they getting this data for the stock market from? And so it would be uncommon for them to be paying for the data. We used to pay for like IP data. So you know how we all have IPs. Well, when a visitor visited our site, we wanted to do a reverse lookup on their IP and figure out what city they're from, so we can better target them. And we can do that, but we need to buy IP data. We need to buy. We would connect to an IP database an API, and we would say, here's the IP, where are they from, and they'd tell us the city. But we have to pay for that information because someone's putting a lot of time and effort trying to collect and store and manage that data. So some of these you'll find that you have to pay. This one you don't. So that's nice. A lot of the ones that we're using you don't. Obviously, they're all free. I used to use Google Maps in here, but Google Maps now, I think you have to pay for after a certain amount, but they require your credit card. So you're gonna, in this one, you're going to have an API key, okay? So you're gonna have an API key, and then below is a little sample request, and you can see from the sample request, you could see the domain to which the API, like this, the main domain where all your requests are going to. So it's really important to find this, okay? That base domain, okay? So the schema that the API is on, the domain itself, including the subdomain. A lot of APIs tend to have API dot or developer dot, okay? So this is not consistent with this, right? So you can't make your queries to www.themoviedb.org. Okay, that's not going to work. You need to use it. You need to use this domain, api.themoviedb.org. Okay, you'll also see a number after. Okay, this number, and this is very common, this number represents the version of the API that you're using. So over time, this API is going to grow and change. But the problem is, if you as a developer are building an application on this API, the people who have the API, they don't want to go change it because there's all these applications that are trying to use it. If they change something, that means that all these applications that are trying to use it could potentially break. And so what they do is they version them, and they version them by just putting the number in the URL. So as long as you keep using api.themoviedb.org/3, that is almost guaranteed never to change. Now, when they want to release a new set of updates, they're going to do a v4. And they are starting to move to their v4. Okay, if you started to look through their documentation, you'd start to see a bunch of references to v4, which is actually why they have this block down here anyways, okay? So this number here allows them to version this API. So then when you're ready, let's say you're like, you want, most of the times companies keep multiple versions alive. So like when you're ready in the next couple of years to update your app to version 4, and you have half an hour or half a day or half a month, right? Depending on the amount of time it's going to take to update all these endpoints and manage the data and stuff like that at the right spot, then you can start moving your application to version 4. Okay, and then probably in 3 to 5 years, they will terminate. When version 5 comes out, they'll terminate version 3. So there's usually almost always 2 versions that are active. So when they show you this example API request, and not all these places will do it, right? It's important to kind of take a look and see what's going on. You can also see your API key in there. Okay, and that's my API key. Okay, you have to be careful with these API keys. They are kind of like passwords. Okay. Sometimes they ask for your app information, and sometimes that matters, sometimes it doesn't. I usually just sign up, try to use it right away, and see if they need it. So we're going to head on over to the developers details directory. See, they might have directory of applications. Most APIs are free for development purposes. Okay, they usually have some sort of like limited free tier where you get like 1,000 requests per day, which is not enough for like a production level application. So I'm going to go to their. I really like their documentation. It's really good. So this is what I would consider to be a very well documented API. Okay, they have a clear introduction and a clear getting started section. So normally when you're looking at an API, you want to find some sort of getting started section. You want to figure out, how do I make calls to this API? So far, I've just been kind of giving you, here's the URL, here's the endpoint, put this query string in there. This is too complicated. The documentation's not very good, right? But this API, it's very robust. And so it kind of requires that documentation. Okay, a lot of this stuff that I'm going through right now is not necessarily super relevant to what you're doing tonight. However, it's a good introduction to a well-documented API and what you can expect some or many APIs to have. Okay, so you're looking again for some sort of getting started, some sort of introduction section that is going to tell you your API key, okay, or where to get it. Here, they don't tell you your API key, but they tell you where to get it. Go here, go here, go here, and there's your API key, okay? Authentication, okay? Authentication with an API is very important. Authentication means identifying yourself as someone with this API key, right? If your API key is like a password, how do I use this password, right? And there's different ways, and that's one of the important things to understand. We haven't seen any different ways, really. We've looked at 2 APIs so far. The first one we looked at was the random user one. What was the how did we authenticate with that one? Does anyone remember how we authenticated with the random user API? The answer is, can you guys hear me? Yeah, okay. The answer is we didn't. There was no authentication. Okay, we didn't authenticate with that one. So they didn't know that I was making the request or you're making the request. They could check that out based on IP, but that's not a very good way to do it. Okay, normally they're looking for some sort of key or multiple keys. Sometimes there's multiple keys. So right now for version 3, we're just putting our API key right in the URL. For version 4, they want to do it. They want you to do it in a different way, and this is not uncommon. Okay, putting it in the header. We haven't looked at how to add headers. Maybe we can look at that. I think we will be looking at that next week. Okay, because we're going to want to be doing some post stuff. And then there is this advanced user authentication stuff, okay, which we won't cover in this. You'll cover that in the back end. But we're here, so you're always going to want to find, where's my API key? How do I use it to authenticate? Okay, those are 2 pieces. There's usually some other things like, hey, you don't always have to ask for you don't always have to query the API. If you just need this data once a day, you can do an export and you can get a giant JSON file that comes down in the zip format, which you can then unzip and use in your application without having to come to our API every time, right? So there's usually in the introduction or getting started or familiarization of an API, there's usually like all this extra information, regions, languages, images. So for example, in this particular API, they manage their images in a very specific fashion. They do not give you the entire size of the image, the path to the image. There are many images available. So instead what they do is they give you kind of like this code for the image, and then the size of the image that you want to use is going to be up to you. So here, that doesn't work. You can ask for different sizes. So they give you this image file name, and as long as you know the prefix to that, the file path, you'll able to get it. And you're allowed to modify the file path to pick a different size poster. So if you don't like the backdrop size of 500 pixels, you can do a 200 pixel one. You can do a 1,000 pixel one. You can modify that. So that's one of their special things. Okay. They also have a lot of other interesting things in here if ever you're interested in going through it. Any questions about this stuff so far? Okay, so we're just going to look at the two endpoints that we'll be using for our examples. Okay, there's a lot. So here are all the endpoints. So if you were interested in anything specific, you can just click on it and take a look. We will be using genres, and we will be using trending. Okay. So trending, I really like this API because it's very straightforward. It gives you the URL right off the bat of the path. Okay. So we're appending this to that api.themoviedb.org/3. Okay. And then we're attaching this trending / and these brackets here are suggesting like you are going to input this information. This is information that you're going to input. And so it says media type here. And then just below it, it says valid media types. And here it says time window. And just below it, it says valid time window. Okay, so you are to infer that the word that can go here is either all, movie, TV, or person. Okay, and it also says get the daily or weekly. So get daily or weekly trending items. The daily trending list tracks items over a period of a day, while items have a 24-hour life. The weekly track items over a 7-day period with a 7-day half-life. So I'm assuming it's a rolling 7-day window. Okay. So it has a definition. Okay. Here are your parameters that you're allowed to pass. You need your API key. Here are your parameters that you're allowed to pass, including your query string. Here is what a sample response might look like. Okay. They try to make it so you're likely going to get an object that has a page property. That page property is going to be an integer. So page 5, page 100. Okay. And you're going to be able to get the poster path. So then within there, you're also going to get movie list result object. And you're going to get a bunch of movies. You're also going to get total pages and total results. Okay, that's what a 200. So this is not super necessary because for me, I find in what we're doing today, because we're going to be looking at our objects on our own anyways. And actually we could perform examples, but this can be very useful. Some APIs, you need this because you need to know what data is available. You need to know what types they are. So this tells you the types of that data, right? Oh, it's an integer. Oh, it's a string. Oh, genre IDs, right? Which is something that you're after. The genre IDs, they are an array of integers. So this stuff is super helpful. Okay. What does a 401 look like? What does a 404 look like? A 404 comes back with a status message and a status code. 401 unauthorized. Okay, so they're giving you different examples of potential responses so you can better program against them without having to get these responses by actually testing it out, right? I can start programming and pulling in this stuff and start using these property names without ever having to actually make a call to this API and get a result, because they've provided me with all the documentation I need to actually build this thing out. Okay. I'm just more of I like to push the buttons and see what happens kind of guy.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
A quick question here while you're going over this. For the genre IDs,
Yep.
where is it that you had the list yesterday that shows which genre the IDs correspond to?
We'll get there.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's take one of the things I really like about this one is it also has an example of what they look like, of what it actually, so this is the schema, this is the JSON example, which is super nice. But even better, they have this try it out tab where you can just pop in your API key. So I just go over here and copy it. And this is actually like a pastable field, and I'll paste it in. Okay. And now I can select path parameters, media type. I don't want all media types. I want movies, and I don't want day. I want week. Not only does this create an example for me, it actually creates the key for me. It actually creates the URL for me that I can then copy and paste directly into my application. But I can also send a request and get these responses. Okay, page one. I wonder, can I add an extra page onto here?
You can add when you fetch it, but I don't know if you can add it here.
Okay, yeah, so you can get multiple pages if you wanted to. That's something that I think that's just kind of like a general thing about this API. If you went back to getting started and you looked at paging, there's probably some sort of paging thing here. You can add page number to anything and get additional pages. Anyways, we're over here. Okay, so we did our sample request, and you can see we got our genre IDs, and it's an array, and we were looking at extraction, right? If we go back to this movie I was talking about, it's found in 3 different genres: thriller, action, and drama. Okay, and here we have 3 different genre IDs. So we can assume that one of these is action, one of these is thriller, and one of these is drama. This image that I'm using here, okay, forgive the fact that it's a giant image, okay? It's not the image itself, it's the way it's being presented using CSS, something I wanted to fix, but I never got around to doing it, okay? For those of you who are interested, I'm using CSS Grid for the layout. So I'm using this backdrop path. I am not using the poster path. There is a difference between the backdrop and the poster, right? The poster is more like what we were using yesterday for the OMDB one. They're tall and they're vertically tall. These ones are horizontally wide. These ones are wide. The posters are tall, okay? And the posters have the name of the movie on it. I'm using these because I'm putting the name of the movie on it. Okay. This number that I'm using here is vote, the vote average. Okay. And then you have your overview and stuff. Okay. So here, that's your movies. Okay, you only need 1 page, so you don't need to worry about the page, but if you did want to take this further, you're more than welcome to. Okay. Next up, find genres. Okay, genres. So genre is same thing. Okay, we have our schema, we have our genre / movie / list. Note, there's no curly braces here. Okay, there's nothing suggesting that we're able to provide any additional information other than our API key, which we need to provide on every single request, and a language if we wanted a specific language of these movies, of these genres. Okay. And then it gives us our schema, gives us an example, right? And gives us the ability to try it out. Our API key is already in there because we've been testing it out. And we can optionally provide a language. Languages aren't required, they're optional. See, you could see some of these fields are optional. Some of them are required. I'm surprised the API key is optional. If you make a request without the API key, it's not gonna work. Here it says it's required. Here it says it's optional. And we're going to send the request. Some query strings are optional. And that usually is because there's defaults already. And they usually say that, right? So for example, in this one, the language, it's optional because EN/US, US English is the default. Okay, that's pretty common. So we're going to send the request and we're going to get this list of genres. Okay, so I expect that you are pulling in these genres through fetch, that you are not copying and pasting these into variables. I also expect that you're not only pulling in the ones that you care about that matter. I'm assuming you're pulling in all of them, okay? So then you get your genres. So you take your genres, you sort through them, you figure out, you go through all your movies, you check to see which movies belong to which genres, and at the end of it, by the time you've done all that figuring out, you're gonna have genres that have no movies in them, you throw those away, then you display everything. Okay. Working with the API, that's not the hard part in this one. And generally, working with APIs usually aren't the hard part. It's getting the data back and manipulating it the way that you want. And this is what I'm asking for. Okay. Any questions on this?
You answered them.
Okay, cool. Okay, cool. So, extension, for those of you who are done, don't pull in one page. Pull in 5 pages. And I'll add this. I'll add this to the write-up. Don't pull in one page, pull in 5 pages. Make your search working. And here's what I mean by that. When I type something in, okay, when I type something in, and this is massive, okay, I think this is massive, okay, I want you to go through all the movies that are available on your page. So when you type into the search, when you click on the search and you start typing into it, I don't want you, actually here, I have a sample. Netflix. Just one sec, let me find the sample here. So you're gonna be, by the way, you're gonna be doing this again. This is not, there we go. All right. So this is an older version. I need to get these movies updated, but here's how I want the search to work. How do you spell Aladdin? This is Aladdin, right? Yeah. A-L-A-D-D-I-N. A-L-A. Okay. You see how it just filtered my movie list down? This is, okay, so this is advanced. This is for people who are done. You see how it just filtered my movie list down? I don't know why dark. It looks at both the title and the overview of every movie and looks for the substring and then redraws the entire page with only those movies. Okay, I can give you this. I can give you this URL. In addition, you are allowed to do any of these other things that are on here, which is also here. I am indicating the total amount of movies. By the way, we're all going to build this together at some point in time in the next course. This is React. Okay. I perform a search on every key press. I refilter and redraw all the movies. I'm not hitting enter. I'm just hitting A, L, A. Okay. Alternatively, you can also create a massive list where you just click one of these links and it's just all the movies, but not sorted and not duplicated. It feels like multiple pages, but it's not. It's what we call a single page web app. All it is destroying everything in there and redrawing it with new HTML, right? Destroying the HTML in this container and then inserting new HTML. So I think that search is really cool, and I think it'd be cool to add that. Okay, so I would say go for that search. Go to that search. If you finish that search and need more, I'll pick up another piece. There's more stuff I have. I was thinking like when you go over one and you click on it, it kind of gives you that like Netflix banner at the top. You know, like on Netflix, there's that whole banner at the top that takes up the whole thing. That shows you like a huge backdrop. It shows you all this information about it. Kind of like this, but maybe more information. I don't know how much more information there would be, but something like that. Okay, so those are some new ideas. I'll paste this into this exercise, so at least you have a link to it, and you can see what kind of things you can do and where you can go with it. And just something to consider, I am not re-querying anything when I perform that search. I'm just pulling everything in and I'm storing it. And then I'm updating that array and always changing that array. Or objects, they're objects actually. So if you have any questions on that, feel free to ping me too after. Okay. Now we have other stuff to talk about. Now we have Git to talk about. Okay, we're gonna move on from this. So this is for today and tomorrow. The reason why I just assumed that it was bigger because I did it and it took me a little bit of time. Maybe I'm just slow, but we'll see. If you finish this, again, there's an advanced. I'll build out the advanced one and you can work on that. But I'll touch base with you tomorrow morning and find out. Yeah. Okay. So we have some Git to do, some new stuff today. Yesterday, I finished off that. Where did we finish? Yesterday, we finished off with branching. There was a branching exercise. I don't think I mentioned it. Did you guys take a look at it? Yeah, you did? Okay, so let's walk through it together because it's going to be very similar to some of the exercises that are coming up in the next little while. They're very The exercises are very led, like go here, do this, do that. And it's one of those things where if you don't do it precisely, you're gonna have to like go back, which includes today's exercise, tomorrow's exercise, on the weekend, okay? And the reason why I do it like this is because I really have to set it up, right? I really have to perform the setup in order for you to experience some of the tricks. I learned Git on the job. Okay, I went into my job never having using Git before. So I learned like the basic commands, Git push, Git pull, those types of things. And then whenever I ran into problems, I'd have to run to like one of the like lead developers or senior developers to walk me through like, how do I get myself out of this? What did I do? Did I just lose everything? Right? And so that's not an ideal way. So some of these things that I'm showing you, branching and merging, those things are things you're going to do all the time. Today's lesson, you're not going to use it all the time. And so I'm going to set up this exercise. You're going to walk through it, but you're probably going to forget it. And then Mohammed is going to teach you again and back end, but you're probably going to forget it. You're only going to use it when you get yourself into trouble, right? Because if everything's going smoothly, you're going to use the same 5 commands all the time, right? You only have to remember to amend your previous commit if you forgot to do something, if you didn't do something. You only have to do this if you forgot something else, right? So the commands where we're at right now, this is probably tomorrow's is super important. But the stuff that we're doing today is really only when you're in trouble. But let's take a look at the exercise, okay? We're gonna go to my home directory over here. And we'll do everything in here in my home directory. So I'm gonna make a new directory called branching practice. Make dear branching practice. We're gonna create a file called index touch index.html and 2 new subdirectories, CSS and JS. Here, CSS, JS. In the CSS directory, create a new file called styles. So I'm going to do that from here, so I don't have to go into the directory. I can touch it from outside, CSS/styles. So that will create a new file in that directory. And touch JS main.js. Okay, and now initialize this. Oh no, I put those in the wrong places. I have to move so I have to move everything into branching practice because I didn't put it in. I didn't change directory. Move CSS into branching practice. And move JS into branching practice. And move index into branching practice. There we go. Now I'll go into branching practice. There, good. Initialize this as a Git repository. Git init. Create a new branch off, add these new files to the staging index and commit them with a thoughtful commit message. Git status. Git add dot. They're in the staging index. Remember, this is called the staging index. This is important for today's lesson. This thing where they are right now, they're staged. And you know they're staged because it says, hey, if you want to unstage it, you can. They're staged. Okay. Next up. Commit, git, commit -m, thoughtful message. Committed them with a thoughtful message straight from the command line with the -m. Okay. Create a branch off of master called feature1. So we're going to create a branch. Git branch feature1. Check out feature1 branch and add some basic boilerplate HTML markup to index. So We do git checkout feature 1 to check out a branch. Now we've moved over to that branch. So we're in that timeline. And we're going to add some code to it. So I'm going to pop it open in code. And I'm just going to go into here and hit exclamation point tab. Huh? What? There we go. Save this. Here's our basic boilerplate code. So now we're going to git add dot git commit -m basic boilerplate. Now again, these are not good commit messages, okay? Because these are not good commits. And I committed that. Add and commit these changes. Checkout master. Git checkout master. And we go back here and it's all gone, right? Because when we switch branches, our editor automatically updates. Remember, feature 1 is the branch that has that extra commit with the extra changes on it. Master does not have those changes right now. Master is still living in the past. Living in the past, man. It's living in the past. Okay. Check out the master branch. Take a look at the contents. What did we notice? We notice it's empty. Why do you think it's like that? Because it's still representing a past version. Okay. Create another branch off master called feature 2. So git branch feature 2. Check it out and add the following content to it, the HTML, just a little high there. So, okay, git checkout. And so we're on this branch. We're on feature 2 branch. So this, my editor now represents feature 2 branch. It says master, but it's actually feature 2. I'm surprised it says that. I'm surprised it doesn't change. Huh. There is, by the way, there is some Git stuff built in to Visual Studio Code. There is actually the ability to click and commit and add files and stuff like that. I don't know how it's done. I have used the command line my entire life. And I think at the back end, he'll probably walk you through a GUI interface for Git that's attached to Visual Studio. You won't be using Visual Studio Code, you'll be using Visual Studio, which is like a bigger version. Anyways, I'm gonna type in hello there. We'll save that, okay. And you can see there's a little thing that says M for modified, and I can probably do some Git stuff on it, which I'm not going to. But, oh, should I not? Oh, okay, that's fine. Great thing to show you. I am on master. I made a mistake in my checkout. I created the branch, but I checked out. What did I check out? Nothing. Just get check out, right? And so I'm still on master. And see, these are the types of things that happen. And so I modified this file on master. But here's something really interesting. As long as I don't commit these changes, if I change branches, these changes come with me. Watch. So let me go over to feature 2, git checkout feature.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
A quick question too while we're like, exactly where you are.
Yeah.
So just finish checking out to feature 2.
Mm-hmm.
If you're on a feature,
yeah,
or a branch, I should say, sorry, and you just do git checkout without anything, does it bring you back to master by default, or does it do nothing?
I don't think so. It does nothing. Yeah, it does nothing. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So you'll see when I realized that I didn't check out the right branch, and then I went over here and I did some code, then I realized, I'm like, oops, made a mistake. Better go check out that branch. It brought my changes over with me. M means modified. I modified this file and it brought them with me. It didn't leave them on the branch. Changes only get left if you switch branches and you don't commit those changes to that branch, they follow you. They are attached to you. Okay? So as long as you're moving around, those changes stick by you. So if you've been working all day on the wrong branch and then you realize at the end of the day, that's fine. Just don't commit it. Just check out the other branch and they just come with you. And then you can commit them. So now I can commit them. Actually, even if they're added, so we have them, they're staged. Even if they're staged, they still come with me. See, they came with me. They're attached to me. They won't leave me alone. These things, they follow me around. So if I look at I'm on master now. If I look at get status, those changes are still staged. They stay attached to me as long as I don't commit them. But they can cause problems. Okay? For example, this is dramatically different than our current index.html in feature 1, which has that boilerplate code, right? Feature 1 has that boilerplate code. This just has hello there. What do you think would happen if I tried to go over there and bring these with me? You probably don't. You can't even imagine what would happen. So let's try and find out. And it says error. Your local changes to the following files would be overwritten by the checkout, index.html. So it's saying like, there's changes over there and you're trying to bring stuff in and they're kind of like, they're colliding, they're conflicting. So please commit your changes or stash them before you switch branches. I don't teach stash, but I'll show you what it is, okay? All it is, it's a temporary hiding place for your changes. You say, go in the temporary hiding place. Go hide, okay, for a minute. And let me go in. Now I can go check out feature 1. Okay, no problem. Okay, so I came in over here. I did all my stuff. Let's go back to master. And let's bring those things out of hiding. Let's bring those temporary changes out of hiding. And we pop them off. We bring them back. We unhide them. Okay. Just a little get stash trick. Okay. So anyways, not relevant. These changes follow us around. We were supposed to go to get checkout feature 2. And let's check our status here. They're not staged for commit, get status. I guess when you pop them, they go into our working directory. They're staged. We're going to get commit. Hello there. Oh, yeah. Okay. And great. Add and commit these changes. Check out the master. Again, look at the contents. What do you notice? We're going to look at the contents and what do you suspect? Yes. Check out master. What do you suspect is going to happen in my editor? It's going to be empty, right? Because there's still no changes on master. We made some changes. We put them on feature 1. We made some other changes. We put them on feature 2. Okay. Both of those branches are considered what we call ahead. They're ahead of master. Master is behind them in terms of the timeline. Okay, master has not moved ahead. Master's timeline has been on pause since we branched off of it. Now we're going to merge feature 2 into master. Okay, so let's do that. Git merge feature 2. So we're on master. Okay, so we go to the branch where we want to pull in the changes. Okay, master. And we indicate the branch whose changes we want to pull in. And again, we're not actually pulling them in, we're copying them in. Okay, we're not taking them away from feature 2. We're just copying them over. And we're moving our timeline, we're advancing our timeline based on that. Great, fast forward. An easy timeline advancement, which means it had everything we had plus a little bit more. So that's an easy copy over, right? If it has everything we have plus a little bit else, and I have a little bit else, then those weird merge things can start happening, where it's like we're trying to merge two timelines that have started diverging, right? And continuing, right? It's easy when a timeline diverges and only one continues and the other one sits paused, because then you could just merge that one back in, no problem. But when they diverge and then both of them keep moving forward, and then you try to merge it, that's when things get weird and hairy. Okay, fast forward means piece of cake, no problem. And again, Git picks these for us. Okay, next up, we're going to merge. And now obviously on master, index.html is hello there because we merged that timeline in. Now I suspect we're going to try merging feature 1 into master. So again, I'm on master. Now I indicate which branch I want merged. And obviously we're going to have some sort of crazy merge thing happen here, right? I cannot imagine that Git is going to be able to look at this and decide, do you want the index file with hello there? Or do you want the index file with the 10 lines of code? How do I even merge those together automatically? I think I'm going to need your help, is what Git's going to say. And it exactly said that, okay? It said auto merging, didn't work, merge failed, fix conflicts, commit the result. So, and it shows us we are in a merge. This is called a merge state, okay? All it means is that it has a unmerged path, this weird new thing under Git status called unmerged paths, both modified. It's essentially waiting for us. So it says, you have unmerged paths, fix the conflicts and run git commit. Use git merge abort to abort the merge. This is really interesting. We can say, oh shit, I didn't want to do this. I wasn't ready for this. I don't want to be here today. Okay. And we can say git merge -- abort, and it will cancel that whole attempt at bringing the files over. And it'll kind of roll us back in time to right before I tried to merge feature 1 in. Okay. And now no more merge conflicts. Okay. It's gone. That merge conflict is gone. We rolled back in time just a little bit. Everything back to normal. But we kind of need to take care of this. So let's do that again. So we have, remember, I'm just going to delete one character here. There. So depending on the text editor you do, I like to look at it like this. Okay, I don't like those helpers. Head is the change. So it's using these things as giant separators. These numbers are not part of the merge conflict. It's like, hey, look at this. It's between these two lines. Okay. And hey, look at this. It's between these two lines. Okay. It's essentially saying head contains this. And head, remember, is always the branch that we're on. We're on master. So master contains this stuff here. The branch that we're trying to pull in contains this stuff here. And the reason why I don't like these things is because I look at this and I'm like, oh, so I can pick this or this or both. But watch what happens when I accept both. It puts hello there at the top. That's probably not what I want. In fact, what I really wanted was this. Let me take a step back here. I really wanted this. This is what I really wanted. This is what I actually think it should be. Okay. And so I made the physical modifications to the file. And to me, this is the resolution. Git doesn't care whether or not you leave these things in. Git does not care. You can leave this stuff in if you want, okay? You will run into lots of errors and your program will stop working, but Git is not like, it's just providing you those pieces of information to be helpful, right? If your code breaks and it doesn't work, Git doesn't care. Okay, Git's job is to deal with your snapshots, not to make sure your code is going to work. So just be careful. So to me, this is resolved. Now I need to commit my code. I wonder if I could just commit it without adding it. No, no changes added to the commit. Yeah, I need to add it. So git add dot, git commit fixed merge conflicts. And there we go. Merge conflicts are fixed. Git status, and we can check our log, git log, -- one line, -- graph, -- all.
A quick question, John.
Yeah.
So does the message you typed in for the last commit considered as a meaningful one, since it doesn't mention anything to the...
I think the internet would probably have something to say about that. The internet is very opinionated about Git commit messages, and you're going to find strong opinions all over the place. I would say no, but I'll also tell you I've been doing it for 10 years and never had a problem with it, and no one's ever come after me. So when it comes to fixing merge conflicts, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think like that's a reasonable commit message for a merge conflict fix. Again, like I said, though, the internet would probably have something to say about that. But it's never gotten me into trouble. What I would do is I would, whatever company I got to, if I started a new company, like if I was like, I'm done with teaching, I'm going to Bold, I'm going to go work at Bold. One of the like first days or first couple days of writing code I would just look at their commit messages. I would go through Git log, I would look at their commit messages and see what their standard is. If they don't have a physical standard, some people will be like, here is your new employee handbook for a developer. Inside, you'll see your HTML standards, you'll see your CSS standards, you'll see your JavaScript standards, right? In terms of like, how do we declare variables, what the styling looks like, that type of thing. It might also include your Git standards of like, this is what your Git commit messages should include. This is how they should look. And so it might indicate in there. If it didn't, I would just go through the logs of previous Git commits and take a look to see what kind of style they do there. And if it was all over the place, then it's kind of like, okay, it's the Wild West. I'll do what I think is best, right? Or I will go and look up a standard online. But like I said, for this, I think that's fine.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah. And you can see here, we have our initial thoughtful message, our initial commit, our departure, our break in the timeline, feature 2 and feature 3, they diverge. And then we merge them both back into our initial timeline with a big fat merge conflict fix. Okay. Any questions? Okay, cool. Why don't we take a break now? before we get into how we rewind time with Git. Okay, and then we'll come back from break in 15 minutes. So 10, let's make it 10:10. Come back at 10:10, and then I'll finish up. Should be another half an hour or so. That's what I thought. When I signed up, I said send it to me in the mail. So I'm assuming it's probably maybe automatically generated and attached to my account.
No.
Their website, honestly, if you've used the Superstore website's better. I'll tell you that. But it's not bad. Not bad. I think we can make a better website.
You can download the Save on Food app, and they have electronic version of the card, so you can use it right away.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, cool. That's good to know. Maybe I'll do this later. Okay, so welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about some new stuff. We're going to be talking about going back in time in Git. Because so far, we've been able to initialize our repository. We've been able to add new files. We've been able to create snapshots or create commits, add commits. We are branching, creating separate timelines. We're merging these things, right? Everything's getting crazy. But at some point in time, right, what good is all this stuff if we're not able to rewind time and go back in time? And it's great that we can go back and look at things, right? Like this is what you did on that day. But the one big feature we're missing, like if we compare this to Google Drive, right? And I open up a document in Google Drive here. Okay. And I look at my history. I can not only go back and click on the historical view.
Sorry, John.
Right. Oh, you can't see it. Yeah, share my screen. Yeah, thanks.
I didn't say anything this time.
Yeah. As soon as someone says something, I know that's what it is. So if you look at Google Drive, I go back to my previous commits, right? That's essentially what these are. These are almost commits, except I am not committing them. Google Drive is deciding when a good time is to commit them, and they don't have commit messages. But they have changes, right? And we can look at the changes, and that's great. I love being able to go back and look at the changes. And we can do this already, but the one thing we're missing is we're missing this button up here. Restore this version. We don't have the ability to currently do that in Git. We have the ability to go back and look at all the commits and look at all the changes that occurred in each commit with git log-p or git show. Okay, but we don't have the ability to go back and restore a particular version. And so that's what we need to do today. Okay, we need to figure out how to do that. So we're going to bring up some stuff here. Here, 8, undoing changes, yeah. Okay. So we already looked at git commit amend, but I will look at that again. Okay, git commit amend. Actually, let's go grab a repository to work with. Let's get the normalized repository because that one's an easy one here. So grab this one. I don't have it already. Do I have it already? Oh, I do. Okay. Actually, I'm going to delete these other branches or these other things. I'll remove -rf branching practice. Shall exercise. Test. Okay. So we're going to go into our normalized directory here. Okay. And we're going to do a commit. Actually, let's amend their last commit. Okay. So I cloned this. this is now my code. Okay, I'm allowed to do whatever the heck I want with it. I can roll it back. I can look at all the logs. I can do everything. Okay, it's on my machine. I have the whole repository. I have all the information of everything that's ever happened on this repository. I have all the snapshots. So we talk about decentralized, that Git is decentralized. There is no central location for this stuff, right? And yes, I went over to this location and I grabbed it from there. But GitHub does not have any information about this, this piece of software that I don't have. I have the whole thing too. So if GitHub were to go down, well, guess what? That's totally fine because I have the whole repository as well. Okay, so it's, yes, there is a central server sometimes that we tend to use as the place, but unlike other source control management systems, it is not required that you have a central the place. SVN, you have to have a centralized location. Absolutely, no questions asked. That's where the code lives. Everyone else are just clients. In Git, we are all part owners. Okay, there is no central place. So I pulled it down. It's as good as mine. There is a last commit. This is the last commit. Okay, right here. 8.01. Is that a good commit message? I don't know. Probably not, but that's their style. So I don't like that commit message. I'm gonna modify it. Git commit -- amend. And it's gonna pop up that commit. Save that, and close this. And there we go. This is a better commit message. Now let's take a look at the git log -- one line. Actually, let's take a look at this git log. It's still committed as the previous person. It's interesting. That's interesting. That's not committed as me. But remember, git commit amend allows us to go back to the previous commit and make any sort of amendment that we need. Oops, I forgot this file. Oops, I forgot this change. Oops, I want to change this commit message. Okay, we can do that. We cannot go any further back than that with git commit amend. We have to go further back. We have other ways. Okay. Questions? Okay. Let's look at another way of going back in time. We have another way of going back in time, and that is git revert. Okay, so git revert allows us to go back to any commit we want and do the exact opposite of whatever it is. So think of it like it's undoing that commit. It doesn't undo it by removing it though. That commit still stays. Instead, what it does is it adds a new commit to the top and takes a new snapshot and it looks at that commit and it says, what did this commit do? Okay, it added these lines here, it added this file, it did this, it did that. I'm going to do the exact opposite of all that. I'm going to remove these lines, I'm going to remove that file, and I'm going to do this other stuff. Okay, so we can try that. Let's go back here. And let's look at a commit that we're going to want to undo. We can revert any commit we want. There's no limit. So let's do this one. No, that one's going to be crazy. Let's do this one. Let's undo this one. Fix 725, fix typo and changelog. First thing I'm going to do is let's go look at this commit. So we're going to do a git show. We're going to type in the SHA for that commit. And we're going to see what it did. What it did. And all it does is fixed a typo in the changelog. It meant to say less than IE9, less than or equal to IE9, but really it was saying less than or equal to IE. So remove support for older browsers. So they removed this line and they added this line. So they actually just added this number 9. Okay, so that's what this commit does. It removes this line and it adds this line. Let's revert that commit. So to revert that commit, we do this. And we tell it the SHA of the commit that we want to revert. So what it does is it automatically creates, adds, and commits those changes. And it says changes to be committed will be the exact opposite of what happened. And it automatically gives us a commit message. Revert, fix typing and change log. This reverts commit block. All we need to do is save, close, and it's been reverted. So let's look at the log now. So we have a revert, which is its own commit. And then the other commit still exists. Okay, that commit that I reverted, it still exists, but we undid it here. So if we go look at what the stuff that we did, it added this line, it removed the number 9, and it removed that line. It did the exact opposite of what that previous commit did. I'm just gonna pause for a second, let this sink in. You don't seem impressed. Takes a lot to impress you, I guess. No questions? That's it, that's git revert. Okay, we move on. Not much else to say, right? We're always going to be reverting a specific commit. I use this one fairly often, like often. Considering I use git add, git commit, git branch, git checkout, I use those 100 times a day. I use this one once every 2 weeks, once every 3 weeks. Okay, that I still feel like that's often. That's often enough. Okay, so there's our git show, git revert. And now the big one, git reset. Okay, so git reset is a travel back in time. So git revert is not a travel back in time. Okay, git revert is a let's move forward in time, but let's do the exact opposite of what we did. Okay, all right. Back 10 days ago, I broke up with my girlfriend. Mistake. Today, I'm going to unbreak up with her. Okay, I didn't travel back in time. I just undid it. Okay, I bought that TV. I'm returning that TV. Okay, I didn't undo all the events leading up to that. I just did the opposite. Okay, here. Now we're going to do a git reset. This is not the opposite. This is a rewind time. Okay, we're going to rewind time. We're going to go back and restore this version. Okay, so to reset, we go git log, and we find, actually, let's go to git log -- one line. Let's take a look. Let us go back to this one, tag 7.0. Okay, that seems like a fun place to be. Version 7. So we're going to rewind time and we're going to go back to version 7. So it goes like this: git reset SHA. And now we are at version 7. where did all the commits go? They're gone. We went back in time. Like, we went back in time. They don't exist anymore. They are gone. Okay. Now, there is a couple options here with how we manage all those changes that occurred during the time that we rewound, right? So we just lost a block of work, a giant block of work. Now, where that block of work went is up to us based on a series of different options we can pass in to Git reset, okay? By default, we do what's called, the one I did, Git reset with no options, is actually Git reset whatever is actually -- mixed, okay? And I'll show you what this means. If we do a git status now, you're gonna see a bunch of files show up that have been changed. Modified. I never modified anything, right? You saw me, I didn't modify any files. So what it did is when it rewound and went back in time, it picked up all the changes that were made along the way and it put them into what we call the working directory. All those changes are still there in those files, but they're not committed. Okay, so it unraveled all those commits and it took all those changes out. Not all the changes out, it just unraveled all the commits and all the git adds, kept all the changes in the files, and now we're back in time to 2 months ago, and it's like we've been coding like a madman and never committing. Okay, if I were to git add dot git commit, instead of, I went back in time like 10 commits. I can't see the log anymore. I went back in time like 10 commits. So I undid 10 commits and took all those changes and stuck them into just kind of like, they still exist. It's like I just made these changes. So I can do a git commit -m. My brilliant. Git add dot, actually. Okay, so now if I do a git log -1 line, you're going to see it goes, before it used to go version 7, commit, version 8, commit. Okay, I unraveled all of those. I took all those changes out and I put them into my working directory, what we call our working directory, and they're ready to be added again. So actually, this is at the same point as it was when I first cloned it, pretty much, except for that, including that revert. So this and that are the same. Okay, but you saw I went back in time. What did I do with those changes? They went to my working directory. That's how git reset works by default. Let's go back further. Let's go back to version 6. But instead, let's do something different. Let's do a soft reset. So by default, it's a mixed reset. The changes go into my working directory. I still had to git add dot. Okay. Git reset commit -- soft puts these changes into my staging area. See how they're green? They're added already. I don't have to add them. They're already added and ready to be committed. Okay, so I went all the way back to version 6. I unraveled all those changes. including that stuff that I just did, the reset and everything. And I made another commit, so now I'm here. And finally, we'll show you the third one. Let's go back in time over here. Hard, dash hard, like hard reset. You didn't reset it hard enough, okay? Changes are in the garbage, gone. I am at version 5. All those changes that have been made since this commit over months and months and months are now gone in the garbage, never to be seen again, not in the recycle bin. See you later. Okay.
So
Yep.
so that means you don't need to give it a commit message. So it will take the commit message of its previous one.
Well, this is not a commit.
Oh.
This is not a commit, right? I am not adding additional stuff anymore. I am literally rewinding time to a better time. Oh man, when I was 18, life was so much better. If only I can go back, right? I just did. Yeah.
Oh.
So here you're just going back in time. So now I went back to when I was 18 years old and I have a bright new future ahead of me. I threw out everything I did. The other ones, soft and mixed, were like going back in time, but bringing with you all those memories and everything that you accumulated and like all that stuff. It's just your body's younger. This one is like you literally brought everything back in time. So this works on branches. Okay, so I can go to a branch and I can go back in time on that branch. That doesn't mean I go back in time on all branches. Okay, now I went back in time on the master branch here. They have some other branches. I'm gonna detach. Let's say you can look around. Yeah, so I can go, I'm on other branch. I'm on another branch. I'm on version 1 branch. So I can go around to other branches. I can reset them. I can go back in time. Everything that you do with respect to commits and resetting and stuff, that's based on your current branch. Okay, so if you go to a specific branch and you undo changes because you want to try a different path in time, you can do that. If you, okay. The other thing is these changes, when I say they get thrown in the garbage, they literally get thrown out, right? Like there is a way that you can get them back, but it's like dark magic. It's like, it's like black magic, right? You don't want to do it. You don't want to go there. No one really knows how. And it's called, well, no, that's not true. People know how. I never go and do it because I never make that mistake. It's in the ref log. There is a log of all the commands and everything that was done that's kept inside your Git repository. Okay, every little thing that has been done is kept inside your repository for 30 days. This is a timed thing. Okay, so that way, in case anything major happens, or you act no, grab this back. Can you hear me? Can you talk to me so I can?
The sound is a little lower. The
quiet.
volume's a little, yeah.
The volume's better?
No, it's hard to hear you. Very
Really?
low. Yeah.
Is it better now?
Yeah. When you
Okay.
move closer, it's better.
Oh, what is the mic being used
It's
here?
still rather quiet though.
Okay. Let me see if I can figure this out.
That's better.
That's better?
Yeah.
Says I'm using the Jack mic. Microphone array, Realtek audio. Okay. All right. That was pretty good. I haven't charged these things in 2 weeks. So, and I left them on last night. So that's some good time. Okay. So we'll finish up here. We're almost done. So there is a place where you can go to rescue any stuff. It's a timed area. It only exists for 30 days. And I don't know how to do it, but you can look online how to like go in there and restore things. But it's kind of like it's your last ditch effort in case you accidentally mess something up. Typically, just be careful when you're resetting. I don't reset a lot. Oftentimes I reset to like if I downloaded the stuff from them and I messed it all up, I would just go and clone another copy, right? This is only my local copy. This is my local copy of Normalize, okay? I would just like this is what we're gonna learn tomorrow. Do a git pull. And now we are right back where we were when we started this whole thing today. Version 8.01. And I'll teach you that tomorrow. Okay. And that's the benefits of not having only one person with the code, not that having this thing distributed, having multiple people with the code is that I can screw things up. As long as you have the whole repository, I can fix it. So that's exactly what happened. I screwed things up, I messed things up, I did all sorts of crazy stuff, but someone else has a copy of the whole repository, and in one command, I can fix everything. Okay? So not only do we have these snapshots locally where we can go back, build incrementally, rewind time, do separate do separate timelines, but we can also rebuild everything. All we need is someone else's copy. Not even someone else's copy, just the connection, right? This has an implicit connection to that that online GitHub version. And I'll show you all about that tomorrow. Any questions about Git Reset? You don't use Git Reset very often. You use it, sometimes I use it to destroy changes that I've made. Like I've been working on stuff and I'm like, oh, I just want to go back to the start of the day. Like I used the whole day working on stuff and then I get to the end of the day and I realize all those changes were useless. What I would usually do is I'll just do a git, I'll add those changes and then I do a git reset hard. If you do a git reset hard with no SHA, it just brings you back to the previous commit. Not the commit back, but like if I had a bunch of changes, for example, let me do some changes, touch something new, like I'll add a new file, okay? And let's pretend, I've been working all day feverishly and I'm like, I've got all these changes in all these files and I'm like, I just want to go back to the start of the day when I had a working copy and everything was fine because, I just want to go back. If I didn't have a branch there, or even if I was on a branch and I want to go back and I want to do that, I can always do a git status, okay? And this is what I do. I'll do a git add dot, add everything, and then a git reset -- hard. And that erases everything in my staging area and brings me back to just like essentially erases everything that I worked on all day, which is sometimes what you want. That's usually my use case for git reset. Reset hard. So if I look at my git log, reset hard will just bring me back here to this last commit, right? Which is where, so if I did it again, I don't go back any further. I'm constantly just going back to the same commit, right? If I don't give it an ID or a SHA, okay? I'm just going back to the same commit. Any questions? Nothing? Nothing? Okay, so I've got some exercises for you on this. And again, it's a little, so two things. One, go watch the videos. Go watch the videos. The videos are great. Again, there's some little exercises, little quizzes, little things that it'll have you do. One of the things it has you do though, is it has you go and do git reset head, stuff like this, weird things like this, caret 2. And that is a way of traveling back in time without saying specifically where you want to go to. Okay, so imagine instead of saying the date and time of where you want to go to, like I want to go to January 7th, 1999, 2 p.m. Right? This one is saying go back in time 1,250 days. Right? One of them is saying exactly where you want to go. The other one is saying go back in time 1,250 days. Well, tomorrow, 1,250 days from tomorrow is different than 1,250 days from today. So this type of approach is more of a generic, like this is go back in time 2 commits. This, as opposed to this one, where you're going back in time to a specific commit, okay? So this is head caret 2, go back in time 3 commits, go back in time 4 commits. And it's going to have you, the videos are going to have you like practice that and go through that process of seeing that. And I think there's some value there because there's some people who do use that online. I've never done that. You can go your whole life without doing that. Maybe I'm missing out. But I feel like it's totally fine. It's usually, you only see one, usually one anyways, like go back in time 1 commit, get reset head, caret 1 -- hard, undo 1 commit, okay? So there's some exercises to do there. And also there's some exercises for you to do like a following one. So we'll undo, turn editing on, good. And it's just resetting and reverting. So go do all this stuff and it's going to prompt you to undo and redo and stuff like that. Revert. So, and it's kind of like a little like, go build a little, you're going to build a little form with a button and you click on the button and it counts up the number. I'm asking you to build those things. So there's a little bit of JavaScript involved too. Okay. Not much. It should take you like 20, 30, 40 minutes. Okay. To do the whole thing and give you some practice along the way. Anything? Nothing?
I have a question for the other exercise.
Yeah.
Are we gonna go over the solution before we start the first assignment?
Yeah. Tomorrow afternoon before, so that's going to be the last thing that we do tomorrow. So tomorrow morning, we're just going to do git. Tomorrow afternoon, 2 o'clock, we're going to go through the solution and that'll be, we'll all grab a drink. We'll all grab some lemonade. We'll sit outside. It'll be our Friday afternoon and we'll go over the solution together, and then we'll finish. And that'll be it. I might even send home the first assignment over the weekend. I'm still debating that. It's done. It's just a question of how much time do I want to give you. But yeah, you will go over it before you get the first assignment for sure.
Awesome to both those things.
Okay. Okie dokie. Well, that's it. Again, people who are done this exercise, do the extension. There's so many things you can do with this. Okay, there's so much. Take it to the next level. Don't stop. Keep going. I don't have anything for you for the next day or two that's built and ready, but I've got ideas. So if you're done, if you finish what I'm giving you, ping me. I'll tell you what the next thing is. I'll tell you, I'll give you another challenge. Okay. And I will see you tomorrow morning at 8:45. That seems like so far away. But yeah, see you then.